In the story of Jujutsu Kaisen there were many hints and build-ups for the future, but to the shock of many fans, Jujutsu Kaisen ended abruptly. The build-ups have not been resolved and were either dropped or forgotten. In this video we will list and briefly discuss many hints and build-ups which were dropped. We will cover the whole spectrum, from things that were less important and can be left unresolved, to things where most readers would probably have liked an explanation or resolution. As the conclusion we will discuss if it has made the story and especially the end worse, or what other possibilities there are for the Jujutsu Kaisen verse. Should be obvious, but spoiler warning for the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. Megumi had a crucial switch in attitude when he was at the verge of losing against a strong cursed spirit. Instead of preparing to summon Mahoraga as usual, he understood what Gojo tried to tell him in his training. With the growth in personality there was also a growth in power. Megumi awakened his still incomplete domain Chimera Shadow Garden. Definitely a power up for his 10 Shadows technique, but still without a barrier or sure hit. During the Culling games in his fight against Reggie, Megumi opened an improved domain. Still without the sure hit, but this time with a substitute barrier. Later we saw nothing more about Megumi's domain, which is kinda sad because I would have liked to see a perfect version of Megumi's domain. I had a little hope after Sukuna took over Megumi's body and showed the real potential of the 10 shadows. But unfortunately Chimera Shadow Garden wasn't used again. Overall I think it's fine not seeing a perfect version of Megumi's domain. It would have been interesting, but it wasn't necessary for the story. There are a lot of things about Sukuna which could have been extended. For example, an overall Heian era flashback. Sukuna was the strongest during the Heian era. Although there have been strong sorcerers like Yoruzo, Angel and Takao Uro, it was stated that Sukuna fought against all ruling clans during that era and he won. Personally, I don't think we need a childhood flashback of Sukuna. Because of his conversation with Kashimo and his final conversation with Yuji, I think we got all the information needed to understand Sukuna. If you want to know more about it, check out my shadow video about Yuji, Mahito and Sukuna. But I can also understand if people want to see more official manga content about Sukuna growing up. In his fight against Mahoraga, Sukuna mentioned an apparently very strong vengeful cursed spirit called Yamata no Orochi. Besides that mentioning, we haven't heard more about this vengeful cursed spirit. I think a Heian era flashback would have been nice in terms of witnessing the sentiment during that time period. Gege multiple times stated that it was the golden era of Jujutsu sorcery, and the mindset of sorcerers seemed to be different from the modern times. The sorcerers of that time wanted to compete with the strongest. But in terms of Sukuna and his power, I think it's okay that we didn't get the flashback, because in Sukuna's fight against Gojo and everyone else, we have seen the entirety of his power and beyond. He used binding vows to break the limit. To be honest, I think it would really be just fan service to see Sukuna defeat all the other clans and many other powerful sorcerers. After Sukuna took his bath to suppress Megumi's soul even more deeply, it was shown that Sukuna still got a cut on his finger. Sukuna thought it was the influence of Megumi, therefore he strove to kill Yoruzo, who was reincarnated in the body of Megumi's sister. Sukuna's interpretation is the only official explanation we got. I think the most conclusive explanation is the hit Sukuna got from Yuji after Yuji walked through Sukuna's dismantle. It probably was a hint for Yuji's soul dismantle, which later became important for Sukuna's defeat. It would also explain why it couldn't be healed with reverse curse technique. With Tengen we are now in the realm of rather important things which are missing for the story. Tengen was the foundation for the Jujutsu Society as we knew it. She was responsible for the barriers that kept the curses mostly confined to Japan. Her not fusing with the star plasm was the reason why Kenjaku was able to implement his plan. The reason for the Six Eyes user was to protect Tengen. She is approximately 1200 years old, and we know nothing about her. Why and how did she become the important figure she was? Has she always had the same role as in the modern era? How was the world of sorcery before she created the barriers to keep cursed energy mostly inside Japan? Why did she have some similarities to true form Sukuna? Tengen is very mysterious, and I think her backstory or an overall explanation would not just be interesting but also crucial for the understanding of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. Kenjaku is the ultimate plan maker of Jujutsu Kaisen. Nearly every major event was a consequence of his action. He is at least 1000 years old, and he is the definition of an evil, inventive scientist. Kenjaku somehow got his hands onto Sukuna's late twin brother and purposefully created Itadori Yuji as a cage for Sukuna. Kenjaku's dream was the Great Merger. Because of the Six Eyes user, he was unable to realize his dream. But with the unexpected death of the Star Plasm and him being able to get Suguru Geto's body with cursed spirit manipulation, which is necessary to control an evolved Tengen, he got closer to achieve his dreams. Although we know quite a lot about him, there are still many unsolved mysteries. For example, his relationship to Tengen. When Kenjaku approached her, he called her friend. Or his binding vow with Sukuna, which was very important for both parties, or in general his role for Sukuna during the Great Merger. I mean, why creating Yuji as a cage in first place? One forgotten plot which I was disappointed about is the soul-body conflict. Kenjaku and Mahito have two opposing curse techniques. Idol transfiguration is all about the soul. Kenjaku's brain transplant is more about the body. Mahito said the soul comes first, while Kenjaku, after Geto's body reacted to Gojo's call, said that the soul is the body and vice versa. It is possible that Gege used this moment as a conclusion and not a beginning for a plotline, but for me it felt like a build-up. Especially when Yuta used the same brain transplant technique to use Gojo's body. It felt like Gege crafted a perfect environment for an incredible callback. Gojo probably post-mortem a last time helping his student. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. I also think reincarnated Toji speaks more in favor of Kenjaku's perspective. Toji's heavily restricted body was too strong for an ordinary soul. Therefore, Toji was able to gain control. Toji was still following orders to fight the strongest entity in his surrounding. Just for brief moments, he was able to resist the order after recognizing his son. Kenjaku, in my opinion, needed a way better treatment for the end. Everything he planned was basically thrown away, although having the greatest influence on the story. For me, his death seemed out of nowhere. After transferring the power to start the merger to Sukuna, it was never picked up again and simply vanished. I also believe that it would benefit the story to know more about his plan, particularly for Yuji and his binding vow with Sukuna. Perhaps Yuji was just created to be a cage, but maybe also as an opposing force to Sukuna. Perhaps that's why it was important that Yuji is a descendant of Sukuna's late twin brother, giving him the same potential as Sukuna. Is the story of Jujutsu Kaisen bad, and did Gege fumble the end? No. Gege Akutami decided to not explain everything which was hinted or built up in the story. And that's mostly fine. I really like Jujutsu Kaisen, and this video is not to bash the story. I have reread the Shinjuku Showdown arc probably 3 to 5 times, and I think the final fights of Gojo, Sukuna and everyone else are very well written. The possible body-soul moment of Yuta, the conclusion of Kenjaku and the merger are the only disappointments for me personally. After Jujutsu Kaisen ended and before Modulo was announced, I thought the chances for a potential prequel are a lot higher than for a potential sequel, but it turned out different. Modulo is still ongoing, and it won't be that long. So, at the time of writing the script, I think there are 8 to 15 chapters to go. With a potential prequel to Jujutsu Kaisen, it is possible to close the crucial gaps about Kenjaku and Tengen, and perhaps also show something from the Heian era. Perhaps after the end of Modulo, we will get a prequel of Jujutsu Kaisen, giving a lot more insight to the yet mysterious but important characters. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. The world of Jujutsu Kaisen works fine as it is, but I think it would benefit the story immensely. Thank you for watching the video. Please write your opinion in the comments. What do you think about the story of Jujutsu Kaisen and especially the end? I want to repeat, this is not a hate video. I really like JJK and more content is on the way, so stay tuned. And yeah, hopefully see you soon.